You all to our webinar today on virtual interviewing. My name is Donald Cox. I am the Programs Committee Chair for the North Carolina chapter of HIMSS, and we have a very special session for you today and hope you enjoy it. We also want to point out coming up, we do have a few other events, the certification review course for the CPHIMSS exam coming up, and the Cybersecurity Spring Social, Cybersecurity SIG and Spring Social, which you see there listed, and the fall conference, which we're getting in the process of getting set up. So all information on these is all available on our North Carolina HIMSS website, nchims.org. For those of you that are not members, there are some things coming up that you would be beneficial if you are a member. This shows you just a brief overview of the different types of membership available to you. Also, as an aside, if you are an employee of one of the corporate sponsors or our affiliate organizations, then you're automatically a member. So go to hims.org membership-join to claim your membership or to sign up if not. And last but not least, we want to give a thank you to our chapter sponsors. You can see them listed here. Please let them know that if you contact them that you heard about them through us so that they know that this has been a good investment for them. So without further ado at this time, I would like to turn it over to Trip to let him get us started.
Thanks, Don. Really appreciate it. Thank you guys for joining today. I think we've got an action-packed hour. That's what we've slated for our event today. So we want to speak to you guys about standing out in a virtual interview. Our hope is that you take away some nuggets from this conversation today, and we have set aside time for questions and answers at the end. But certainly along the way, if just something is just burning in your mind and you want to ask, raise your hand and we'll certainly allow you to ask a question. I would like to introduce the panel. So my name is Trip Drotta. I'm with iMethods, and I'm a Vice President of Client Results there, and also a CPHIMSS a certified member of the National HIMSS as well as CPHIMSS. I would also like to introduce you to our two presenters today, Isabel Seifert. She's a Senior Recruiter and Account Manager with Intellect Resources, and Joe Arlotto, who's with Gravity IT Resources, and he's a Senior Account Executive. And both of them have graciously agreed to share with you some of their knowledge and the nuggets that they've learned in their careers. So please give them your full attention and raise your hand if you need anything. And I'll go on mute while Isabel and Joe take over.
Great. So the next slide kind of talks about our agenda. So we have broken out into three different groups, three key points that we're going to focus on. The first one is going to talk about pre-interview, how to get prepared and ready for the actual interview. Then we're going to go into the interview, talk a little bit about etiquette, personal presentation, go over some common questions and how to navigate questions, and share a magic little formula that I like to give all candidates. And then we're going to wrap it up with the post-interviewing and talk about monitoring evaluations and reflections, and when and how to follow up and get feedback. So the next slide is going to talk about interview preparation. So I like to advise everybody a little organization goes a long way, whether this is something that you do in Excel or just an old-fashioned notebook. I like to tell everybody to write down and keep track of every position that you have applied for, the company, the position, the contacts that you have made there, the job description, the date you applied, the date you interviewed, everything like that, and then add a little section for notes. A key point here is the job description. Don't just grab the link to the job description, but actually grab the content. So just copy it and paste it. That way, if you're in the interview process and need to go back and look at the job description, but the job's been taken down or the link is broken, you have that to reference. Another big part of interview prep is the research. So you really want to take some time to get to know the company, check out their leadership, their online presence. I love to tell people to get on LinkedIn and look at their account. You never know who is going to be connected to that company, whether they worked there before or somebody you went to college with or a neighbor, anything like that. Also check out online reviews. I like to recommend Glassdoor and just a good old Google search, see if they have been in the news recently, see from people who have worked there previously or who are still working there on Glassdoor reviews. And then really get on their website and dig around. Usually companies will list their team or their mission statements and more about what they do. And then review. So go over the job description, the job requirements, the soft skills, the keywords, and really sit back and think about how you connect with that. If you're working with an internal or an external recruiter, ask them about the interview, how many people are going to be on the interview, who's going to be on the interview, how long it's going to be, and how many interviews it is. Sometimes an interview process can be 3 interviews, sometimes it can be 6 interviews. So you really want to get a timeline of that. If you are working with a recruiter, sometimes they have had other people go through this interview process, and you can ask them typical questions or questions that have been asked by this hiring manager before, just to help you get some background on that. The next thing that you're going to do is review your resume. So go over that, pull up that job description, compare projects or previous roles that is relevant to what you're going for. And that way you can know how to navigate the conversation and make yourself relatable and stand out. Make sure that all your dates align on LinkedIn and on your resume. This is really important for if anyone's going to look at your LinkedIn, they want to make sure that everything lines up. I like to tell people to print a copy of your resume out. When you're doing a virtual interview, you can have it, you shouldn't have anything else on your desk, but a pad to write notes down and a copy of your resume. This is kind of, think of it as a normal interview. When you used to go in person, you would have several copies of your resume printed out so you could hand them to everybody that was in the interview. But this also lets you reference it during the interview. If they ask you, you know, you were at X company 3 years ago and you were a project manager here, you can glance down and remember some highlights that were there, and be ready to speak on those. Always test your technology. So in today's day, most interviews are going to be via Zoom, Teams, WebEx, anything like that. You want to get on early, test your camera, test your microphone, test your speakers, test your internet speed, test your lighting and your background. I like to tell people to do this several times. If you're not used to working remotely or you go into the office, you just want to make sure that your lighting is okay, it's bright enough, and your background is clean and not distracting. Put a plan in place for animals. If you live with other people, significant others, children, TVs, Alexas, Googles, anything like that. You don't want those to go off. That can be very distracting. And just to go back on the background, you can use virtual backgrounds, that's fine, but keep it a minimum. It's really important that these people are just getting to know you and they're not distracted by the TV on in the background or closet open and clutter everywhere. Presentation, so even though you're taking an interview from the comfort of your own home, always dress professionally. Pretend like you are going on site. Not only does this make you feel better about yourself, it shows that you are really serious and excited for the opportunity, and just be clean. I beat this to the ground, but you don't want to have your desk cluttered or your background, anything like that. So when you're preparing and you go to practice, really focus on the mission, their team culture, your relevant experience to the job that you are going for. I want you to prepare not only answers, but prepare questions. I'd like to tell everybody to always bring 4 questions, 3 that are relevant to the role or to the company, and then 1 unique question. So a unique question always I like to think of it as throwing the hiring manager or whoever's on the call for a loop. Make them something that's going to make them sit back and really think through it and give you a real answer. An example of this would be, what made you join the team? I saw that you have been at X company for 15 years. Can you speak more on that? What makes you stay? What makes you come back? Anything like that. This is a great question because it also gives you firsthand look into what the culture is like and what goes on. You can read stuff online all day, but if you're talking to somebody, they really have to think of a question think of an answer on their feet and go from there. So I think that's something that goes a long way. It also makes you stand out. So after part of the practice is do a test run. I like to tell people, stand in front of a mirror, talk to yourself, open a app on your phone and record yourself, look back at yourself, FaceTime a friend and run through it. The first time you speak to your experience should not be in the interview. So really, practice makes perfect. I say this all the time, no one's gonna have like the perfect answer to every question, but the more you practice, the better you get. Go easy on yourself. No one is perfect, like I just mentioned. That's just when you look back and you're looking at yourself and you're thinking, oh my God, like, do I really look like that? Or do I really sound like that? Go easy on yourself and just practice. Another great resource for this is SparkHire, where they will generate questions and you can answer them and it'll record and play back, so you can really practice that. This is kind of just wrapping up. Remember to dress the part. When you go to practice and do a test run, dress up, act like it's the real thing. Optimal background, I've talked about that. Limit the distractions, avoid reading verbatim. So I suggested you print your resume, but don't sit there and read your resume to them. Really practice for just a natural conversation. And then review your body language. We're in a virtual world and all they're gonna see is you. So you don't wanna be slouched over or arms crossed and distant. You want to really be inviting and interested, and that goes a long way.